And it's
Yeah.
reaching us on a personal level. I've had 4 colleagues who've contracted COVID-19.
Yeah.
One of them died 2 days ago.
Wow.
Up in Silverdale in England, and another pastor in London is fighting for his life as we speak, and 2 pastors in Northern Ireland, and that's only my small circle. And these, most of these people have been fit and well, really, you know.
Yeah.
So that there is a shock factor. There is the realization that it's kind of hitting us all on a practical level of how this is. It was all in the news. It was all out there. But as you say, when Boris Johnson got sick, I think we all got a fright with that, really. And
the theoretical becomes experiential.
Yeah, and very subjective to us in our own world then as well, and
Very
hearing
much
of
so.
neighbors and friends and maybe family as well, you know. Yeah. And how are you helping people through some of that, Julia?
Well, the first thing that I'm saying to people is that this is an abnormal event. This is not normal. And whenever we encounter something that is not normal, we don't have any internal framework that we can use to get past it easily.
Yeah.
I guess the nearest thing that we can use as theory would be the concept of post-traumatic stress. But people are experience what we would call post-traumatic stress whilst we're actually going through this. And as each day goes by and there's no end in sight, that stress is producing thoughts to which there are no answers to. And worry basically is when we have thoughts within our minds that we can't get past. They nip at us. You know, the idea of being worried by a dog is that dog is nipping at you. It's not quite getting hold of you, but it's just causing irritation. It's causing stress. It's causing distraction. And worry does that to the mind. It distracts the mind. And then, of course, as thoughts are not able to get hold of themselves and find any conclusion, you know, our thoughts need a framework to refer to. What happens with our thoughts is they begin to go around in circles, and we begin to ruminate. We begin to focus on them. And the fact is that there are no strategies in this that you can refer people to. People in cognitive behavioral therapy, you would talk about various mechanisms, various distortions of thought. One of those distortions is called catastrophizing. You know, taking an event and it blowing it up in your mind. And so we can say, look, let's look at reality testing here. But there is no reality testing with this. We could say to a person, look, people get this illness and they get over it. Problem is we don't know who is going to get this illness, and we don't know who is going to get over it. That we're now looking at how symptoms evolve from day to day. And when you get to a certain point, you can go from being mildly ill to critically ill just like that. There is no framework that we can say to a person, don't catastrophize. We can't use cognitive behavioral techniques easily. So what do I say? You know, I begin by saying to people, this is a normal reaction to an abnormal event. And you do not have any resources within you. None of us do. That you are looking to find a solution in your mind to something that doesn't have a solution. You're looking for reassurance, and there is no reassurance because it doesn't exist. We haven't been through this before. We're bombarded with stories with the terrible events that are coming out of Europe, with Spain and France and Italy. What is happening with the figures increasing here? And then you get some real nut jobs, if you like, in the States, saying that this is all being blown out of proportion. Who do you listen to? There is no framework. And I actually begin by saying to people, stop beating yourself up because you're worried. Stop beating yourself up. Stop saying, I shouldn't be worried. Stop saying, I should be able to get a handle on this, because nobody can. And then I have to resort to the only thing that for me actually does give hope. And that is that as a believer in God, I resort to knowing that he's in control.
Yeah.
I go back to the God that I love, the God that I know, but the God that doesn't tell me what he's up to. The God that doesn't have snappy, easy answers for me to latch onto. And the God who has revealed himself in Jesus Christ. And today, and I'm speaking to you, is Good Friday. This is the day that is an enigma. To call this day Good Friday, when this man was brutally executed on a cross, crucifixion, the most brutal form of execution that even the Romans discarded in the end because it was too barbaric, that Jesus went to the cross. Now, he knew exactly what he was doing, because he did this, he did that for such a time as this, so that we could see past what is happening on Friday and always go to what happens a couple of days later.
Yeah.
Today is good because we know that Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah.
And because he rose from the dead, he conquered death. He overcame the things that we worry about that have no solution to. He actually said, I am the resurrection and the life. He said, don't let your hearts be troubled. He said, in effect, don't worry because I have got an answer. Don't worry because I've got a framework of reference.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it.
Yeah.
We don't know the outcome of this virus, but he does.
Yeah.
And I've been using that technique in one way or another. Technique is a reality, it's not a technique. To talk to people and actually lead them to a person who's not worried, to somebody that's got the answers.
Yeah.
And saying, look, the only thing I can suggest to you is that you tell him about how uncertain you are about things, how difficult things are, and how you don't know that, how you're going to get through that. What is coming?
Yeah.
Maybe experientially, certainly with people that we know, and to say that you're in control. And whilst this might have beaten us at the moment, hasn't beaten you.
No.
I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it, to feed it back because I talk to people specifically.
Yeah. So someone wished me happy Easter. Heather wished me happy Easter by text this morning. And she just said, happy Easter to you and your family and that. And I replied, and I just, it's a phrase that's used more in the UK than it is here, but happy, what is it? Happy is Easter. He is risen. And then you said, he's risen indeed. That's what's normally often said in English.
That's very much a liturgical.
Oh, okay.
Almost Church of England.
Yeah. And I heard it in the Methodist circuit here, all right, but I hadn't heard it outside of it. I said, my response came kind of as a mirror to that, saying, he has risen. And I said, and because he has risen, we will rise too. And it just reminded me that this isn't our home. We are passing through. And I remember C.S. Lewis when he was addressing the soldiers before they went to war. And you would expect him to say, you fight well and things will be fine or whatever, but he couldn't say that to the guys that were going to war. And he said, he said basically, you're all going to die, but we just don't know when. Some of you are going to die tomorrow. Some of you are going to die in 30, 40 years' time. And I think, I think it's the same kind of thing. And, if you look inside in yourself, you're not going to find the hope inside in yourself. If you look to the systems, like you've said, around us in the healthcare system, and they're doing their best they can, thank God for them, in the countries that we're living in particularly, they're being fantastic. But they're not enough. And we're studying as a family that the Psalm 23 over the season, and the Lord is my shepherd is the first phrase. And it's really impacted me that actually when Jesus Christ is your shepherd, he can lead us through the darkest valley, even the valley of the shadow of death. And kind of Covid is the valley of the shadow of death. It's near enough. It's around us in that sense. But I've got a fantastic shepherd. That's the phrase I picked up there about a year or two ago. I've got a fantastic shepherd. He's very competent. He loves me dearly. But I don't know what he's up to, and I don't know where he's leading me to. But ultimately, I know who he is. And I know his character. And I'm very happy to hear his voice and follow him along. So for me personally, and also I'm saying to other people as well, for me personally, I'm spending time with the Lord every morning. This is like a Sabbath that God has given us for those who aren't on the front line, to spend time with the Lord, spend time in his word.
We resort to a language that people don't necessarily understand. It becomes
and I've just used some of that language. I'm aware of that. Yeah,
I know you have. That's why I'm saying it. But no, seriously, I'm just sort of thinking those words do have meaning to us, and they will have meaning to people that are involved with church. I think to people that are not involved with church, they won't have meaning. But there is something in the whole concept of having somebody who is in control, that does look after you, that is bigger than you. Somebody that perhaps they've never really taken an interest. What is the saying that there's no atheists when people are about to die?
In foxholes, I think, isn't it? There's no atheists.
No atheists in foxholes, yeah. And I think that an atheist wouldn't be listening to this stuff anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, an agnostic maybe might be interested, just want to know a bit more. And I think my suggestion would be, look, there's nothing I can do to convince you of the shepherd, of the security of the hope that you've got, and I actually have as well, that this isn't just about a belief system. This is about something that is shot through the fabric of my being and my reality, certainly as it is for you. I would say, look, don't take my word for it. Try asking him. Try asking him. And I think that's all I've got to say, really.
Raise up a people, holy and free, hearts with a vision like unto thee, souls that would rather die than give in, lives with a passion, victory to win. Spirit